So if you guys saw my stories yesterday, you saw that Mike was doing yoga, but he was actually watching Love is Blind on Netflix.
I was doing both.
Yoga. He was doing yoga with this pillow underneath his head. So that was him doing both. But I wanted to get his take on the 5 things that he has learned from watching the show, because he has called this show trash. He has called this show garbage. He has said it's awful. And yet, if you saw the video, he was watching it like this. Then he was watching it like this. But he was watching it. So what are the 5 things that you, Mike, have learned watching the show? Then I will add a few things that I learned.
All right. I'm not going to speak to like the trashness or the train wreckness of the show, because I'm just going to speak to the lessons that I've learned. I feel like I have learned a couple things from watching it. First thing is, it is best to be honest with yourself.
It's okay to read your notes.
So that you can be honest with your partner. Because there was an argument on the show, and
Carlton and Diamond. This may contain spoilers.
I wasn't even talking about Carlton and Diamond.
Oh, okay, sorry.
But either way, if you can be honest with yourself and actually get down to the true thing that's bothering you, and then communicate that to your partner, then you put your partner in a position to help you out, and you put yourself in a position to actually like know what you need and ask for what you need. So it's really important. That's lesson number 1: honesty with yourself and then with your partner.
How have you gotten there, though? Because there's been instances in our relationship where I have asked that of you. So do you have advice for how you got to a place where you were better able to understand what you needed and then know how to communicate that?
Well, I think a lot of us will think we're being honest with ourselves, but it takes introspection to actually find out what's really bothering you.
And some therapy sometimes.
So yeah, whatever it takes. So you need to like dig deeper than what you might think is bothering you, and ask yourself why, and then just like keep going further and further until you can get to the base layer of what is wrong and what's bothering you.
And what I think is important that you said is ask yourself. This is internal work that happens before you have the conversation with the other person, so that you're not trying to sort it out while you're talking to them. It helps to, if you can do this really quickly and think, okay, is that really what I'm mad about? Is it really this? Is it really this? And I think you get better with it over time. But yeah, I think that can be very helpful.
Yeah, and sometimes it comes out to just, oh, I'm hungry right now. That's why I'm being an asshole. And sometimes it's like, oh, I have a need that's not being met. That's why I'm being an asshole.
I'm usually, I'm just hungry. I told Mike in the future when we've had this like hiccup, I said, you know what, in the future, ask me by going like this, like, babe, not my boob, my shoulder, to be like, babe, when's the last time you ate? Because that's like a good way for me to say, oh, am I hungry or am I crazy? So honesty is the best policy. There are 2 people on the show, Carlton and Diamond, and they have a big I won't even call it a miscommunication. They have a communication that did not happen because he withheld aspects of his sexuality for his own reasons and did not give her all the information she needed to make an informed decision. So that's an interesting storyline to follow. Maybe I'll try not to give spoilers. Okay, no one cares. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
A lot of people on this show...
Lesson 2.
Some of them are kind of inexperienced with relationships.
Which is wild in your 30s.
And they think that there exists a perfect relationship out there for them.
Yeah.
And Aisha is as perfect as it gets for me. And by no means are we perfect. So like...
I think you got to strip away the idea of perfect and like know that there is a level of work that goes into having anything that you want, including a relationship, including a body, including a job, including hair, including anything.
Yeah, so there is no perfect relationship and there's no perfect partner. Every relationship and partnership is going to require lots of work. And a lot of these people on this show are really naive to that and think that there like exists this soulmate who they're not going to have to do any work with. It's like, no. Your soulmate is someone who you can weather the work with.
Yeah, and I think when I think of our relationship, I think of choosing a partner who I joyously want to approach each day, working at this with. having an actual partner. Also, these people have known each other for like 3 weeks so
Yeah.
far. So like keep that in mind too. They also don't know each other.
Third lesson,
Number
3 is it is best to communicate deal breakers from the start. And that could be everything from kids to money to ambitions,
Sexual preferences,
sexual orientation.
anything. I know that when we started dating, my deal breakers, something I was very firm with was I don't know if I want to have children. I'm very indifferent to having kids, but I knew that I wanted to make sure that I was with a partner who it wasn't a hard no. Because I want the option. We've kind of talked about this on our podcast before, and we sometimes are like, Mike's like, oh yeah, did I say that I was open to having kids? And I'm like, yeah, you did. But that was like a deal breaker for me. And where are we with that now?
We're kind of, I'm heavily leaning towards not wanting kids.
But we're neither of us are a firm no, and neither of us are a firm yes.
I didn't get the operation.
We should probably not talk about this again.
Yeah.
I mean, like, together, but not here. So what's the fourth thing that you learned?
Okay, fourth thing. So
wait, let me just say this. Some people who know us in real life end up thinking that, like, when we talk about this and, like, it seems not awkward, but it's like, have they really talked about this? We have actually talked about this. The thing is that
a lot.
We talked about it a lot, but, like, I think it's because I'm so indifferent and I really don't know if I want children. I'm leaning towards a no. But it turns into this thing. So it's not that, like, I actually want a baby and this is like an underlying tension. This is just one of those conversations where I go back and I think, like, Mike, you know that you didn't represent it the exact way that you thought in your mind you did. So,
well, also, it's been 4 years since we met. So, like, yeah, I've changed.
Yeah.
It's been 4 years.
Yeah.
I've grown up. I've seen life.
You've gotten better haircuts.
I've
Your
gotten
beard is
more
thriving
in touch.
a little bit more.
I've gotten more in touch with what I want versus what I think society wants for me. And so I'm a little more in touch with, like, what I can do for myself. And
he also says, if Buddy wasn't an object, yeah, let's have kids. So it's like a bigger discussion with us.
Yeah, not everything is in a vacuum. Speaking of vacuums, this show was in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Then they started to interact outside of just being in the pods and being with each other. And they
sent them all, after they chose who they wanted to be with, no one had to choose, but after the couples who decided to get engaged got engaged, they sent all the couples to a resort in Mexico, and then they ended up bringing them back together. So it was one of the first times they were able to see how they interacted, number one, in person, but with other people who they had also spent time in the pods getting to know. So everyone has some level of familiarity with other people. And some people had connections with other people who were there.
But lesson number 4 is that you cannot fall in love with someone in a vacuum. You have to see how they interact with other people, because you learn a lot about who people are when you see them in social settings. And
what
how
about
they
people
interact.
who fall in love with, like, prisoners, or people who fall in love and, like, get married to someone they've never met before? What about those people?
Well, I think there's a level of risk.
Yeah. It usually doesn't work out.
I mean, you may end up not liking each other in person. Like,
yeah. So then what's your fifth thing that you learned watching the show?
Something that I'm learning. So when I started watching this show, I was very disappointed at the start because everyone was pretty. And so I was like, oh, well, this show is all about, like, forming a true connection without visuals. But then, like, in the end, there's not much risk for most of them. Everyone in the show is very conventionally attractive.
And when he said that to me, I was like, yeah, but this is still casting for a show. So we're going to still cast people who please the eye on TV, because obviously, think like a producer. No one wants to make TV to look... You have 90 Day Fiance. If you want to see regular... normal looking people, watch 90 Day Fiance. Netflix is casting to have something aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, I get that. So,
and just because someone's aesthetically pleasing does not mean you will have any attraction towards them or chemistry.
So I thought, well, okay, everyone in this show's, conventionally pretty. Like, most people are going to think most of these people are pretty. But what I found out is that attraction really matters. So you could have two kind of classically pretty looking people fall in love without seeing each other, but then when they see each other, they're just like, you don't really do it for me. And turns out, attraction matters.
I'm surprised that was one that you, like, that was a lesson you learned, because I would think that you knew that.
Well, yeah, I knew that, but it's playing out in the show more than I thought, because I just thought, oh, well, no one is hideous, everyone's decent looking, so it's not going to be an issue. But turns out physical attraction has been a huge issue with a lot of the couples that fell in love in the pod.
Yeah.
That's like been a deal breaker for several of them.
Well, yeah, and I shared with friends who have watched the show and just like in conversation with people that I've definitely had experiences before where I met someone or had conversations with someone and it felt a certain way, and then when you meet in person it doesn't translate. And I think and I've joked about how funny it is that you can instantly know. It's just a feeling, I think. So for me, I'm like, well, duh.
I think what it's proving is that love is not blind.
Love is not blind. Okay, so predictions. Okay, wait, before I give predictions, I'm going to say the things that I learned. What I learned is Jessica and Amber drink entirely too much, and it kind of makes you aware to see someone so sloppy, belligerent, emotional drunk. It's like, yes, it's TV. Yes, they're being fed liquor all day. They're not sleeping on regular hours. But it was like, sometimes you need to put away the fucking wine and just like chill. I also realized how when someone is like a narcissist, even though I know this already, but when someone's a narcissist, seeing the interaction between Carlton and Diamond was horrifying yet familiar, if I can. It's like horrifying yet familiar, and it made me cringe because you see someone shutting something down, lacking accountability, being a narcissist, being arrogant, also being fragile and damaged and hurt and scared, and it's all these emotions. And I thought that it was textbook how not to handle a conversation. And a lot of their communications and interactions have kind of shown you, granted they're new to each other, so like maybe this is someone you would have never even gone on a second date with, because in person the chemistry is different. But seeing these people communicate so poorly, actually we had a breakthrough in our communication the same night we watched one of the episodes, and we had seen like the shit showingness of like communication. And I honestly credit watching that episode and both of us reacting in real time like, oh my God, I can't believe this person is in their own way and being this bad. We both communicated a lot better with a very like important topic. And I think we had like a breakthrough, honestly, in our relationship and getting to a deeper level of vulnerability and communication. And I really think it was watching the show together and seeing poor communication together and how people like get in their own way. And we both really did better.
It really helps to see examples of bad communication play out in front of you.
I think we need to have cameras on us so that we can like learn.
And to recognize, but you can see bad communication, but then you have to like recognize what's wrong with it.
Yeah.
But that helps, actually watching it and seeing what was wrong with it.
And I also realized on the show, I hope all the people who are on the show, when they watch it back, they learn, especially Mark and Jessica. I hope that they learn the most, because when you see someone pining for someone who so clearly does not want them by behaviors and by words, like not only is someone telling you they don't want you, but they're also showing you that they don't want you. It's really sad to see someone still chase that person. So I hope they learn. And
Mark reminds me of like a 16-year-old in love.
He's 24, so he could maybe be like a 19-year-old.
Yeah.
He just seems like someone who's dating this woman who's 34 and has her shit together and genuinely fell for his personality and then immediately saw him and was like, fuck no. But didn't say it. But is showing it. It's like a mess.
But she also kind of didn't fall for him because like she told him she wasn't into him anymore, and then
went back to him. Okay, so
which is lesson number one.
Lesson number one.
If someone ever says that like you're not for them, then
no,
just, like,
don't even wait for someone. Stop. Scratch what he just said. Don't wait for someone to tell you that they're not into you. Interested people act interested, and I think we can wrap up this video with that most important lesson that anyone can learn from this show. Interested people act interested, whether it's in person or not in person.
Okay. And love is not blind.
Love is not blind. Interested people act interested. Bye, y'all. Let's watch the finale on the 29th. Who do you think's going to get married?